You walk into a room and suddenly forget why you went there. You stop for a second, trying to retrace your steps, hoping the reason will come back to you. Sometimes it does. Sometimes it doesn't. You might laugh it off, but inside something feels off. These moments are subtle, yet they linger longer than you expect. Maybe it happens while you're talking to someone and a simple word just disappears. You know exactly what you want to say, but the word won't come. Or you open your phone, stare at the screen, and forget what you were about to do. These small interruptions in thought can feel harmless at first, but when they start happening more often, they quietly affect your confidence. Many women don't talk about this. They assume it's just stress, or that they're tired, or that life is simply busy. Others wonder if this is just how things are supposed to be now. The problem is that when these moments are ignored or dismissed, they can slowly create frustration and self-doubt. What most women don't realize is that memory changes rarely show up as sudden forgetfulness. Instead, they appear as mental fog, slower thinking, or a feeling that your mind isn't as organized as it once was. You may feel mentally drained even after a day that wasn't physically demanding. Or you might notice that focusing on conversations, reading, or decision-making takes more effort than it used to. This experience can be confusing because it doesn't mean you've lost intelligence or capability. Memory is not a single skill. It's a process that depends on attention, mental energy, emotional balance, and communication between brain cells. When one of these systems is slightly out of sync, clarity can feel harder to access. Many women describe this as feeling like the information is still there, but harder to reach. That sensation alone can be unsettling. It creates the feeling that your mind is working against you, even though nothing obvious has changed on the outside. What's important to understand is that these changes are not random. They are signals. Signals that the brain is responding to internal shifts and asking for a different kind of support. When those signals are misunderstood, women often blame themselves. When they're understood, they become empowering. This stage of life often comes with increased responsibilities and constant stimulation. There is little time for mental rest and even less space to slow down. Over time, the brain adapts to this pressure, but not without consequences. Focus becomes harder to maintain and mental clarity feels less reliable. Instead of seeing these moments as something to fear, it helps to see them as messages. Messages that your brain is adapting, changing, and asking for care in a new way. When you listen to those messages, you shift from frustration to understanding, and that shift alone can be incredibly relieving. As the body changes, the brain changes along with it. This process is gradual, which is why it often goes unnoticed at first. Hormonal fluctuations affect how brain cells communicate with each other, influencing focus, memory, and emotional regulation. These shifts don't happen overnight, and because they're internal, many women struggle to connect the dots. Sleep is another major factor. Even if you spend the same number of hours in bed, sleep quality can change significantly. Sleep may become lighter, more interrupted, or less restorative. During deep sleep, the brain processes information, organizes memories, and clears metabolic waste. When that process is disrupted, mental clarity is often the first thing to suffer. Stress also plays a powerful role. Long-term stress keeps the nervous system in a constant state of alertness. When this happens, the brain prioritizes survival over clarity. Over time, this makes it harder to concentrate, recall information, or feel mentally sharp. One of the most common mistakes women make is trying to push through these changes. More coffee, more multitasking, more mental pressure. While these strategies might offer short-term alertness, they often increase mental fatigue in the long run. The brain doesn't thrive on constant stimulation. It thrives on balance. Another mistake is dismissing these changes as insignificant. Small memory lapses are easy to ignore, but they often signal deeper imbalances. Ignoring them doesn't make them disappear. It simply delays understanding what the brain needs. There is also the belief that this is something you simply have to accept. That clarity naturally fades and nothing can be done. This belief can be more limiting than the changes themselves. The brain is adaptable, especially when it's supported correctly. Trying to force mental performance rarely leads to lasting improvement. The brain isn't a machine that responds well to pressure alone. It responds to environment. When sleep improves, stress is managed, and mental overload is reduced, clarity often follows. Understanding this helps remove self-blame. It reframes memory changes not as a decline but as a transition. And transitions don't mean loss, they mean adjustment. When women stop fighting their brains and start supporting them, many notice meaningful changes over time. Supporting mental clarity begins with creating the right conditions. Improving sleep quality, even slightly, can have a noticeable impact on focus and recall. Simple changes to evening routines, reducing late-night stimulation, and allowing the nervous system to slow down can help the brain enter deeper, more restorative sleep. Managing stress doesn't require eliminating it completely. Small, consistent practices that calm the nervous system can help the brain shift out of constant alert mode. When the brain feels supported, memory and focus become easier to access. Nutrition also plays an important role. The brain requires specific nutrients to support communication between cells, energy production, and circulation. As the body changes, these needs can shift. Even with a balanced diet, certain supportive compounds may not always be present in optimal amounts. This is why many women begin exploring broader approaches to cognitive support. Instead of focusing on a single vitamin or habit, they look at how combinations of natural ingredients work together to support the brain as a system. The goal is not stimulation but steady support that fits into daily life. Consistency matters more than intensity. Simple routines that can be maintained over time tend to be far more effective than complex strategies that are difficult to follow. When support becomes part of a daily rhythm, the brain responds more positively. The most important thing to remember is that memory changes are not a personal failure. They are signals. Signals that your brain's environment has changed and needs attention. When those signals are understood, they often lead to better decisions and renewed confidence. If you've noticed changes in memory or focus, share in the comments if this experience feels familiar to you. Many women go through the same thing even if they don't talk about it openly. For more conversations about memory, energy, sleep, and mental clarity, make sure to subscribe to the channel so you don't miss what's coming next. I also left a comment pinned with more details related to today's conversation, in case you'd like to explore this a little further. This content is for educational purposes only and is not intended to replace professional medical advice.